I really do believe it's like an investment in our marriage. So this is how I justify taking an afternoon nap. If I'm going, I really shouldn't be sleeping right now. Maybe I should be working on this or that. And I go, no, if I'm on the couch cuddling with my husband and kind of close my eyes, maybe half sleeping, half not sleeping, it totally is like an investment in our marriage. It's something special. Like we're not even necessarily talking.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily doing anything at all. Just being close to you, that moment of being so close to you and feeling so relaxed. I'm like, this is good for me. This is good for our marriage.
In all of the good times and even the trials, through tears and through laughter, yeah, I know that I'll smile when I think of you. Smile for the things you do. Smile, God gave me you. You are the reason I smile. Yeah.
This is Behind Our Smiles
Pursuing connection,
and finding joy.
even in the struggle.
And welcome back to another episode of the Behind Our Smiles podcast. We are Joe and Tara Buchanan. We're so glad that you're here.
I'm really excited about today's episode. It's a happy one.
Yes. Before we get to that, though, one of my favorite parts of our podcast is sharing what makes you smile about your husband or wife. And by the way, if you want to share that with us, just email us, Tara, T-A-R-A, at behindoursmiles.com. So Tara, today we're hearing from Alan about his wife,
He's got a lot
Susan.
to say.
Yeah. He says, when Susan walks into the room, makes me smile. When she smiles, makes me smile. When I look into her pretty eye, this is supposed to be eyes.
It's supposed to be eyes.
So this was your typo.
Totally.
Okay, so when I look into her pretty eyes, this is what Alan is saying, what makes him smile about his wife, Susan. When she is loving our children, when she wants to snuggle, and when she gives me her smirk asking for another back rub. That's what Alan had to say about his wife, Susan, what makes him smile. And I can pretty much guess from that list, Tara, which one you like best.
Yes, what makes me smile is not when you want to snuggle, well, yeah, but when we get to cuddle together.
Yes.
So I was like, we had our last series, we went 4 weeks on red flags and dangerous things. It was kind of
Like
heavy.
sulfuric acid?
Yeah, the sulfuric acid, the contempt, the stonewalling, bad things and hard things. And I'm like, we have to lighten this mood up because it's feeling heavy. And so can we talk about rainbows and butterflies and
Puppies.
and cuddling puppies, something to get us in a little better mood because I was kind of dragged down by all that negative
So
talk.
cuddling makes you happy?
So today we're going to talk about what makes me smile and makes me happy and what is not negative, which is cuddling. And I really like cuddling. And I don't think I'm the only one who likes cuddling. I know at least, Susan and Alan,
Yes.
they enjoy the snuggling, cuddling, all that good stuff.
So you're saying it's not just for puppies?
No, cuddling is not just for puppies and it's not just for babies. A lot of people talk about cuddling their babies and their kids and their puppies. But I really think that cuddling us together is a really wonderful part of our marriage.
Well, let's see if we can do some rough math. So we've been married going on almost 27 years.
We
We
are
dated for 5
definitely
years
almost
prior
there.
to that. So we've been cuddling for over 30 years together.
And cuddling is one of those first parts of affection when we start dating. It's a really easy on-ramp to physical affection because it feels really good. Like it's like that hug and you're sitting on the couch together and your arms around me and maybe we're holding hands and I can smell your cologne on your neck. It's just a really beautiful experience. Did you feel that same way about me?
Yeah, I do enjoy it.
I hope so,
Yeah.
because we do a lot of it.
Yes, we do.
And I don't always know if you exactly want to, but one of the good parts of our marriage lately is you understand that it really is good for me. And so I can say, hey, let's cuddle. And you're really good about putting your arms around me saying, hey, let's sit down for a little bit. Because I think it's going to be a lost art sometimes. We feel like that's for people who are just dating.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good with our marriage too.
No, I like it. I especially like it, I think, when the kids are out doing things, so there's not a lot of distraction where we really can just sit down, we can close our eyes, or we can have a slight conversation, but it doesn't have to be anything heavy, and we're just spending time together, and there's no real expectation in that moment. We're just enjoying each other's company.
And I think the catch with the cuddling is our when. So our when has changed over the years based on our schedule and when we're together. But we're really good about our morning cuddles, and that's like my favorite part of the day. And it helps that there's no children and babies interrupting that time. So very fair for sure. But I really enjoy that because, again, we're sleeping. And I really do think that when we're half asleep and we're cuddling, at like the 10 minutes before we wake up, we just get to hold each other. And it just like sets my morning so nice. Again, with the physical speaking, your blood pressure goes down and you're just deep breath. And I love our morning cuddles more than anything in the world. That makes me happy.
Yeah. And what's interesting is you used to set your alarm like 10 minutes prior to mine.
Yeah.
And then you would cuddle in and we'd cuddle while we slept the last 10 minutes. And now anymore these days, I feel like I wake up 10 minutes. It's just automatically, right?
Our body clocks are like aligned. Like, okay, we have to wake up in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's get our cuddling in.
And sometimes it's longer. Sometimes it's like, we have another 45 minutes. Okay, let's cuddle.
Oh, I know. And on Saturdays, we go a little longer. Saturdays, we get a lot of extra cuddle time. And I do believe, like, then occasionally if you're home, like on a weekend day, we can just cuddle in the afternoon. If you're watching TV, maybe I'll even say, hey, let's cuddle for a little bit. And then we do nighttime cuddles too. So I feel like it's good any time of day if you're not catching my drift. But also, so we had a bed and the couch. And I think that's kind of it, right? Like in the car, we can't really cuddle in the car.
No, you can't.
We hold your
you're
hand.
Not supposed to anyway.
No, we shouldn't be cuddling in the car.
Not if I'm driving.
And I really do believe that it's like an investment in our marriage. So this is how I justify taking an afternoon nap. If I'm going, I really shouldn't be sleeping right now. Maybe I should be working on this or that. And I go, no, if I'm on the couch cuddling with my husband and kind of close my eyes, maybe half sleeping, half not sleeping, it totally is like an investment in our marriage. It's something special. Like we're not even necessarily talking.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily doing anything at all. Just being close to you, that moment of being so close to you and feeling so relaxed. I'm like, this is good for me. And this is good for our marriage. It's just, there's something so relaxing about cuddling that for me.
Well, do you think it also plays into this idea that it's safe? Because I think like kids can fall asleep in your arms because they know they're safe in that moment, right? And for me, that's exactly what I love about it. If I've got a game on or some kind of sports, something I don't have to really follow really close, and you come down, and then I feel like I'm at least doing something else while I'm watching the game.
Again, I feel like I'm spending time with my wife. If you're cuddling.
But what ends up happening is I end up falling asleep too. So there's something really sweet about a nap where you don't have to be anywhere. You don't have to get up. You can just let the afternoon drift a little bit.
We didn't always have that flexibility to cuddle together because for a lot of our marriage, I was busy cuddling somebody else, and you were busy cuddling someone else. Primarily,
we're referring to our kids,
our children.
Right.
And I mean, granted, I missed that part of like parenting, right? When they were little and they just wanted to be held and wanted to cuddle. I mean, that really was like, cuddling a baby. It is the best in the world. There is something so beautiful about that and being that source of comfort and safety for a child. So I'm glad I had those years to cuddle them. They are all past the age of cuddling. In fact, I kind of remember with our youngest when he was 10-ish or 11-ish, and he still kind of almost could fit on my lap. I remember saying to myself, this is the last time I will ever cuddle him as a child. It's just going away. But I think as our kids moved out of cuddling, I realized, wait, that physical contact is really good. So I said, Joe, it's time to step up.
Right.
I'm going to need a lot of cuddling because I don't have babies in my arms anymore. So I think it works well for that human contact, the basic human contact we need with each other to feel safe and comforted.
There's also a bonding that happens, right? It does grow us closer together. It is healthy. I mean, there's all kinds of scientific research that shows that it lowers your blood pressure. It boosts your immune system. The thing about physical touch is, especially when it's done safely, like there's a safety about it, a safeness. So there is a lot to like about it. Then, with our kids, when they kind of got beyond the cuddling age, they just wanted to go. And I think that's my biggest problem sometimes is I have all these things that I need to do or I want to do. And so when I give in and I settle in and I rest, I say, okay, I'm going to cuddle with Tara because she's requesting that right now. I end up benefiting as well, even if I go into it feeling a little stressed, like I've got other things to do.
Right. It really is just totally being together. Like, and maybe we're not doing anything. Now, I feel like when we are cuddling, our conversations are calmer sometimes. Like, even if we have to talk about something, because we're so close, I find myself, I'm not yelling at you as much. Where I'm talking to you from across the room or something, I will project more. Where if you're right like within inches of me, I'd be like, hey, babe, so on Saturday I was thinking, and I find myself being quieter and more calm. So I feel like we have better conversations when we're in close physical proximity rather than if we're shouting at each other across the room. And I appreciate that about you too. You kind of like the whisper in the ear, really gentleness is really good for that.
And again, there is something that beneficial on an emotional level about being close. And it does grow our closeness. It does grow the desire to be close to you.
So the question, though, that we all ask ourselves, we do lots of cuddling, we're in close physical contact, we're on the couch, we're right there. So is cuddling sexy? Is it something we do to help sexual intimacy?
Well, I think
That's
it's
the $100
yes
question.
And yes and no, right?
Yes and no, or it depends.
The intimacy grows cuddling, and cuddling grows intimacy.
I love that. It's a win-win. And I think what we've had to work through is this idea that cuddling is good on its own, and it often can lead to physical intimacy because you are establishing that safety, that connection, that warmth feeling, comfort. And so that's a great setting to start from sexual intimacy. But it can't be the reason you cuddle.
But cuddling can also be a byproduct of good intimacy.
But it can't be, I want to cuddle with you in order to get sexual intimacy. So I feel like, hey, I want to be close to you because I want to be close to you. I want to cuddle with you because it feels good. And like, it can be a end point in itself without feeling like it's only a stepping stone.
Well, and if it is a stepping stone, or it's perceived to be a stepping stone, we can withhold that.
Right.
I can choose not to cuddle with you if I don't want it to lead, or vice versa, if we don't want it to lead to intimacy. And that actually ends up hurting us.
Right.
It would be better for us to cuddle and be disappointed than to not cuddle at all.
So that's why we're saying lots and lots and lots of cuddles so that it's not like just a thing that we do before sex. Like for us, we just enjoy cuddling for its own sake. Now there are certain days that everything is lined up good and we're all great and it's a perfect precursor to what we do later, but on its own, it is really good. So I think the answer is cuddling is yes and no.
Yeah. And there have been times in our marriage where it's been a little bit awkward to get from the cuddling to the intimacy or whatever. And there have been times where, for whatever reason, whatever's going on, we didn't want to send the message that if I cuddle with you, then it has to lead to intimacy. And so we would withhold cuddling.
Or any kind of affection. Right.
And you came up with the term, I don't even know where you got it from, but writing bad checks. This idea that we decided as a couple to say, we're not going to withhold that. It may not lead to that.
It's
and
a
we
bad
have
check.
absolute permission to say, I don't want to go there. But I really do want to cuddle. And so we write what you call those bad checks. And I think it was so good for our marriage in those seasons to not withhold affection or not withhold cuddling because we were afraid of where it was going to go
there's an
for whatever
expectation.
reason.
But in the end, once you write enough bad checks, then the good checks start to come around on its own because the expectations are gone. And I go, I know that he wants to cuddle with me just to cuddle with me. And I know she wants to cuddle me just because
she wants to be with me.
Right. She wants to be with me. And we want to create a safe environment where we both feel loved and seen and comforted and heard. And once we have like established that trust in that area, that it's not using a form of affection just to move on, then there's no issue. Then we both love writing bad checks.
Right. And I think that's
way.
a great point because I don't know that it's happened in our marriage per se. Like I've never felt used by you, for instance. And I hope the same is true with you. But that can easily happen when we're using one thing to try to get to the next. And so to be able to reestablish that takes all the pressure off.
And so now I think our cuddling is, like you mentioned, like an outflow of our overall intimacy. And we could just enjoy being together and we both know where we're at and enjoy it for what it is and not necessarily what it can lead to.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love about our cuddling. It's both. It leads us to feel more physically intimate, but it also leads us just to feel close and safe and not pressured, which is a great place to be.
So I know a question that you have, Tara, that I'll just go ahead and ask so you don't have to ask. How do we cuddle more? Right?
Yes. How can we cuddle more is a question.
How can we cuddle more?
For all the women out there or men who want to cuddle more, how do we get to more cuddling? So we figure out what's in the way of our cuddling
That's the
time.
bigger question, right? What gets in the way?
Our cuddle time. Well, obviously for many years, other people cuddling you can get in the way.
Yes.
For sure. If you're holding two babies at once, it's hard to cuddle your husband as well. We have tried that. Like all family cuddle. Yeah, it's complicated. So having some margin in your day somewhere where you say, hey, I want to cuddle just my husband. And we did cuddle when the kids were little, it was logistically more difficult. But not even children in your hands when there's stuff in your hands and you're doing stuff. And I'm kind of a stuff doer. So I do like having stuff in my hands. So it's hard.
And it's intentional. You have to put that stuff down.
Put the stuff down.
To cuddle, because cuddling really doesn't work if your hands are
Yeah.
full.
Even a phone in your hand doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah.
A phone is probably the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to have your hands free to hold. And so, no, for me, that's logistical speaking. You have nothing in your hands and have physical space. But it's so beautiful. Isn't that great that God just gave us bodies that we can be together and have joy in that? And there's just joy in being together. I love that we get that.
And being together is a key.
Yeah, if we're not together, we can't cuddle.
Right.
That's a big one. And that's why when you're gone, or if I'm gone for extended lengths of time, I'm always like, how do we cuddle? Over the phone cuddling doesn't work.
We have had times it doesn't work. Yes. Yeah. Although you've tried it. I think there are times also when we've had way the wrong furniture.
Yes.
It gets really uncomfortable.
We're trying to squeeze into a couch that's just like a hard cushion, or there's not the right armrest, or we can't seem to get.
It's like, do you mind if we just go out in the yard? Because this is really uncomfortable.
Like certain benches or certain chairs. You think, oh, honey, or sometimes I'll try to sit in your lap to cuddle. You're like, no, that doesn't work. It's too awkward. So yeah, you have to find a position of cuddling that is mutually enjoyable.
And for me, I think I've enjoyed cuddling more when you ask me instead of just assuming or just kind of coming in as if you're going to, I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, I think that's where we've grown, is that I think I really enjoyed it. And I think for me to communicate that to you, to say, Joe, I really enjoy cuddling. Like, I would love to cuddle more. And you could take that information and go, okay, I'm going to process that information. And now I know what you want. And so, okay, so I can't, sometimes it happens, it just, we move. But usually I can just ask, hey, hon, can we cuddle?
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, I only need 5 minutes. But let's take 5 minutes, and we have our 5-minute cuddle, and we go back to our regularly scheduled program. So I think to get more cuddling in, I think you have to kind of ask each other, hey, can we cuddle more? When's a good time? Where's a good time? How long is appropriate? Because sometimes you get hot too.
Yes.
If it's too sweaty in the room.
Well, you don't want the fan on, so.
Yeah, this is another episode. So Joe's biggest obstacle to cuddling is the room's too hot.
Yeah.
So then my body heat is just making you burn
So
up.
Tara has a heated vest. Okay, so just to put that in perspective, running the air isn't always, so it's not always extremely cool.
But you'll tell me that. You'll
It's
say, honey,
nice,
I'm
yeah.
getting hot. You know, and I'm like, good, I like it.
I just had to have a disclaimer so people don't think that I'm just saying I'm hot just to get out of cuddling.
No, you just, so you feel uncomfortable when you're hot. I feel uncomfortable when I'm cold.
Yeah.
So when I'm cold though, then the cuddling
Then you
is
wanna cuddle,
perfect, because
right.
then your body's warm and I can get all of your body.
And actually, I don't mind that either because it does warm me up too.
Yes, cuddling is very good for body warmth. We talked about that in our cold episode.
Yeah.
Cuddling is good. So this is the episode that makes me happy, because I like talking about this small little gift that we have in our marriage, which is our ability to physically comfort each other in the form of cuddling. And it has helped us to communicate better, feel safer. I feel warm. I feel like we're in sync with each other too, right? Like that we kind of like can start to not read each other's minds, but almost have a better chance of reading your mind.
Well, I think some conversations, they just need a little time, and they're not going to come out in the first couple of sentences or the first couple of moments of being together. So when you cuddle, it takes all the pressure off and allows us to just kind of sink into really hearing each other. And that's when you can have some very much deeper conversations.
And I think if we're coming out of a conflict, so like, for example, out of our 4 horsemen, we're having a moment of criticism, defensiveness, contempt, or stonewalling. If we're coming out of that, I think cuddling is a great antidote to that as well, to go, okay, let's come in close. We're not going to be attacking each other, right? Because when you cuddle someone close to you, you are, in a sense, opening yourself up to attack. But I think if we've said, hey, we're not attacking each other, we're going to engage, then we get to cuddle to make it all right.
And so to quickly summarize, though, I do think it is extremely important, it was for us, to have conversations, because from my background of the abuse that I sustained coming into that, you were a cuddler from day one, but it took me a while to really
You're
get
not a cuddler.
there. Right. And sometimes I would hurt your feelings because you would come in assuming, hey, you're my husband, I want to cuddle you.
Well, you were a stiff cuddler too.
Right.
Like you were like, I feel awkward, and like your body wasn't relaxed just to like lean into it. But no, that's a great point, Joe, that your cuddling skill had to take some time to develop.
And so what I'm saying is, if I was listening to this podcast and I looked at you and we were back in those days, be like, how do we get there? And I think a key ingredient, and we talked about it, is just conversation, being able to really talk that out. And maybe there is some healing that has to happen. But for me, I think it is safe to say that cuddling actually played a pretty big role in that healing process.
Well, and besides you being able to say, hey, I can see Tara, needs this, also that little bit of boundary for you too, because again, I often will cuddle you without asking permission first, So I think learn to say, hey, can we cuddle together? And you say yes. And then even saying, is this comfortable for you? Because you'll say, honey, my arm hurts, or your knee is in my knee, or something like that. You're going, I'm not physically comfortable, or just things like that, to learn to respect your bodily autonomy as well. And to say, I want this to be a win for us, and not feel like I'm just barging in on you and you're not comfortable and you can't get me away, and saying, hey, 5 minutes okay, 10 minutes okay. And otherwise I was too quick to just claim you and say, I'm just going to sit next to you for an hour. You're like, do I have a choice in this? So that mutual respect was built over time.
So maybe that's a conversation. If you're listening to this podcast, you're like, yeah, I like the idea. We're not necessarily on the same page. Conversation is really where it needs to start. But yeah.
We should cuddle while we do the podcast. That'd be like a fun kind of experiment to see if I can get up here.
We have 2 mics for a reason. So
we have had to sometimes try to do things behind one mic, and it doesn't work. But I really enjoyed that. That's one area of growth I think I really loved seeing in our marriage, is our ability to cuddle and feel safe with each other, and just enjoy closeness and enjoy knowing that we're there for each other, and we can offer comfort when we're sad. We can offer a pillow to each other when we're tired. You make a great pillow as well. And it really is an underrated marriage gift.
It is
my opinion. And it's investing in your marriage. So taking a nap while cuddling with your husband counts as wife, it counts as marriage points. You're making your marriage better is what I feel like. So I appreciate you coming my way and learning to cuddle more, and
all right, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
Are you a cuddler? Do you wish you were a cuddler? Do you wish your husband or wife was a cuddler? Email us today, Tara, Tara, at behindoursmiles.com. When you do email us, share us what makes you smile about your husband or wife. Maybe it is cuddling.
Maybe you're a good
I know
cuddler.
It's what makes you smile, Tara.
It does make me smile.
Also, your 5-star rating is huge, and your review helps others to find the podcast. So thank you for doing that. Really, really grateful. You can find us on Instagram and on Facebook if you want to check in on social media.
We're at Facebook's Behind Our Smiles, and Instagram is Behind Our Smiles Pod.
All right, Tara. I guess we'll be cuddling a little bit later.
Let's go cuddle right now.
See you next week.
Behind Our Smiles is a Wow God production, a ministry of the University of Northwestern St. Paul. Discover more at wowgod.com.